Hey everybody, it is May the 4th, and today on Sandra Boynton's 2021 Every Day's a Fabulous Holiday Calendar, it is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have been since I was a little kid. I'm not the sort who knows all the ins and outs, but I will look stuff up on Wikipedia. That's not a pun from me, that's a real thing. And years ago, I wrote a sketch for a sketch comedy show that never materialized, using some of my Star Wars fandom and knowledge. And I don't have the sets or the costumes. I don't have the budget of Industrial Light and Magic. So you're going to have to use some of your imagination. But if you're a Star Wars fan, you're probably already doing a fair amount of that anyway. So here is my sketch, The Imperial Walker. Hello. My apologies for being late. I had a holoconference about the Bothan problem and it ran long. You're Hing-Tu Zenfon. I am Hing-Tu Zenfon, and don't worry, it gave me an opportunity to get all my papers in order. Me and the boys have been hard at work, and I think we've got something you're gonna like. Good. My name is Lum Nabak, and I am the Chief Engineering Officer for Anti-Rebellion Transport and Weaponry 8th Division. Basically, I manage and oversee R&D for new vehicles, armaments, battle droid designs, and so forth. I understand you have a design that you'd like the Empire to consider for a surface-based vehicle? You came highly recommended by Engineering Officer 3rd Grade Gelio. I'm pleased to hear that. Mr. Gelio and I discussed these plans at great length. Engineering Officer 3rd Grade Gelio, please. We are an Empire after all, not a cantina. Of course. All right, let's have a look at the design then. Here you are. This is a... I am the Chief Engineering Officer for Anti-Rebellion Transport and Weaponry, 8th Division. I can read designs for myself. I will not require an explanation. Of course. Yes, sir. Perhaps you had better explain this to me, Mr. Zenfon. Imagine this, if you will. The Rebel Alliance has established a stronghold and has it protected by an energy shield. You can't attack from above. The only option is to attack horizontally. The Rebels feel safe and secure inside their base when suddenly the ground begins to shake. What's going on? Is it a seismic fault? We'd better look out the window, and there, in the distance, approaching them, is this. The all-terrain armored transport. This thing. That thing. Standing at a height of 22.5 meters, equipped with 2 Taemin-Bak MS-1 fire-linked heavy laser cannons and 2 FF-4 medium repeating blasters, the AT-AT... I'm sorry, the what? The AT-AT. All-terrain armored transport, that's AT-AT. So, AT-AT. That's... Is something wrong? It's just that the Empire has a certain sort of naming convention. We've got Imperial Star Destroyers, you know, fairly intimidating. Dreadnoughts, also fierce. Honestly, there was even a solid day's worth of debate about speeder bikes. General Falamag wanted to call them face melters, but apparently Lord Vader took that somewhat personally. I highly doubt I'll ever get them to consider a vehicle that's just a couple of prepositions strung together. Unofficially, we've been calling it the Imperial Walker. Yeah, okay, that would at least make it through the initial consultation. But I'm sorry, I really don't understand what's going on here. Okay, we can start back here. This is the armored troop section. It can carry up to 40 troops, stormtroopers for example, as well as up to 5 speeder bikes and a fair amount of heavy weaponry like E-Web heavy repeating blasters. 40 troops. Yes. And only 5 speeder bikes. Up to 5, yes. Do you see a problem here? I'm sorry? At best, I can fit 2 stormtroopers on a speeder bike. Even if I could fit a 3rd on there, it would throw off the balance and render the vehicle useless. So now I've got 10 mounted stormtroopers and 30 just hanging around in the back of this thing. The intent would be to deploy them as infantry. Infantry. All right, we'll put a pin in that and come back later. And heavy weaponry? Like E-Web heavy repeating blasters. Those are the ones on tripods? They are. Heavy bastards? Not a problem for the AT-AT, sir. It can carry a metric ton of cargo. A metric ton of cargo is 2,000 kilograms? A capacity of 40 troops gives them room for only weighing 50 kilos each, including their armor and weaponry. I haven't weighed 50 kilos stark naked since I was 14 years old. So you want us to load up these things with the scrawniest stormtroopers we have and just theorize that we could pack in speeder bikes and E-Web heavy repeating blasters? No, sir. I see where the misunderstanding is. I should have said that the AT-AT can carry a metric ton of cargo in addition to 40 troops. We didn't consider troops to be cargo. Yes, well, that's a very different view than that of the Empire. Still, those are very heavy guns on tripods. How are they removed from the Imperial Walker? Well, the stormtroopers would have to carry them, sir. All right, Mr. Zenfon. Look, you've got me bringing 40 stormtroopers and 5 speeder bikes, which means I've got 30 to 35 infantry to deal with, and now you've got them lugging these monstrously heavy E-Web heavy repeating blasters with their mounting tripods, at which point they will presumably take up strategic positions from which they can fire these very, very stationary weapons. 2 or 3 men to lug each blaster, so between 10 and 17 blasters to be positioned about the area. So now I have, say, a dozen men who are trapped in position, which, by the way, only really works well if we're able to scout out the environment first, so that we can drill them and drill them and drill them to set up in pre-established positions where they'll still spend most of the time watching each other's backs. A couple dozen infantry running about with only their handheld blasters at a top speed of about 10 kilometers per hour, call it 8 because we don't know what terrain we're facing, a couple handfuls of men zipping around at speeds of up to 500 kilometers per hour on speeder bikes, and then this behemoth. What speed can it get up to on those legs? Equipped for running? A couple hundred kph. Squeeze out a bit more if you can doctor the fuel slugs to exceed safety standards? No, 60. 60 kilometers per hour, yes, sir, on flat, stable terrain. You see these devastating footpads, they're designed for crushing it. Yes, that must put incredible pressure balancing the entire thing on 4 footpads. I would think they could sink fairly easily in soft terrain. Tip over, perhaps? High center of gravity, and let me guess, the legs have a defined step distance, so they're designed to crush any enemy that happens to be evenly spaced about the territory? It is a variable step distance, sir, to allow for turning. Oh god, turning. I hadn't even thought of turning yet. How wide an arc must you need to get these things to turn? These skinny little legs, how often do they need maintenance? Fairly constantly. And just how the hell do the stormtroopers get out of this thing anyway? There can't be room for them to descend a staircase or even a ladder in these legs. No, sir, they kneel. The stormtroopers? The AT-AT, sir. The Imperial Walker. It kneels, and a boarding ramp extends about 3 meters above the surface. It kneels? Yes. And extends a boarding ramp? Yes. How long does that take? You could also deploy the troops via individual rappelling cables. My god. Mr. Zenfon, last month I had to fill out 4 separate workers' compensation claim forms for troops who had bonked their heads on the bottom of upward-rising doors that had not fully retracted into their panels, the design of which I am beginning to think may have come from one of your engineers. My point is, while they used to be incredibly precise, the best in the galaxy, we are now reduced to using soldiers incapable of traversing a doorway, and you're suggesting that I turn them into piñatas for unblindfolded rebels with blasters. Look at these plans, Mr. Zenfon. What happens if their skinny, constant maintenance needing legs get tangled up? The whole thing trips and falls down. Look, the neck of this thing should have some sort of armor plating, shouldn't it? Well, that would limit the ball and socket design for command head mobility. It would only take light blaster fire to sever the head completely, and only 4 mounted weapons? Granted, you've put excellent weapons on the nose and chin of this thing, but what if an enemy gets underneath it? I trust you've at least given extra armor to the underside of the body? The armor is primarily concentrated at the legs. Of course it is. Engineering Officer 3rd Grade Galio approved these plans? Yes, sir. Engineering Officer 3rd Grade Galio, please report to conference room B36, level 4. Additional armoring on the underside is not possible due to weight calibration ratios. Of course. But if you'll look a few pages later, you'll see that there is a solution to this that I think you'll appreciate. Yes, just there. That, sir, is the ATST. ATST? All-terrain scout transport. More nimble than the AT-AT. Equipped with a Tame and Back MS4 twin blaster cannon, a light E-Web twin blaster cannon, a Dymec DW3 concussion grenade launcher, and homing concussion missiles. This can be used individually, or in conjunction with the Imperial Walker, serving as a sort of sentry to protect the larger vehicle from assault. Mounted on two multi-jointed legs, I see. Well, this is a bit better, I will admit. What have you been calling this one unofficially? The Chicken Walker. Scout transport, yes. And you don't suppose having these robotic poultry-shaped tagalongs will somewhat reduce the alleged intimidation factor of the ground-shaking monsters they're with? The enemy will just see numbers and weapons, sir. How many chicken walkers would you need to protect an Imperial Walker? We recommend 3. And how exactly are they getting to the planet's surface? Judging by the size of these Imperial Walkers, our dropships will only be able to move 4 at once. Well, instead of carrying troops, the interior of the AT-AT can be arranged to carry 2 AT-STs. 2? Out of the 3 needed? Yes. As long as the AT-ST is partially disassembled. I wouldn't have expected any less. Engineering Officer, 3rd Grade Galio. I've been looking over the plans Mr. Zenfon has brought me for the all-terrain armored transport and its backup dancers, the partially disassembled chickens. I understand you approved these for my review?
Yes, sir. The intimidation factor alone.
Intimidation factor? These are invitations to rebel.
They can carry several E-Web...
Heavy repeating blasters, yes, of course, but why not mount them? Why not bolt them on top, facing in multiple directions? Why not mount them inside, facing out through portholes? Those are not a new or terribly inventive idea. They even have them on sail barges on Tatooine. You know what else they have on Tatooine? Sand crawlers, very large vehicles that operate on treads, which not only helps with weight distribution, but also allows them to run right over things without falling over.
Sir, there is something to be said about the psychological effect of the design. They almost resemble the Guarlara from Naboo.
No, they don't. If they did, they'd have a mane and a tail.
We could add a cosmetic mane and tail.
I don't want a cosmetic mane and tail. Besides, if anything, they look like a Nerf on stilts. Look, Galio, honestly, what were you thinking?
This is Hingtu Zenfon? His uncle is the head of Palpatine's personal guard, and he used to play in Vader's Fantasy Friendly League. What I was thinking is that I'm not a big fan of either the Zappy Zappy or the Choky Choky.
We'll take 600. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.